Get ready and strap in for the One Love HTX show, where all our conversations are always raw, unfiltered, and never staged. We can also be found on Instagram, all major streaming platforms, and westcliff.org. Check us out at 1LoveHTX.org for more info or ways to support the show. Now get ready to dive into conversations you won't always have in church with your hosts, Joshua Duffy and Daniel Salsi. Joshua Duffy and Daniel Salsi.
Guitars. That's the way to go.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. Welcome back to another episode of 1LoveHTX, westcliff.org, westcliffclimb.org, and Pilgrim Church in the house. And as you can tell, I've got the Huso gear on with our buddies. And of course, look at that. It looks like Huso, but it's not Huso. That's the Westcliff Climb merch.
We both love W's.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a big thing, you know.
Look at that.
Isn't it like a, cool gang sign?
And we're off. Here we go. No turning back.
Oh, all right. So for the love of music, we're going to get into this in just a second, but I've got to share something with you. I don't think you know this and our listeners. One Love HTX is kind of run with a little board that we have. We started off obviously as outreach, and it's blossomed into this crazy podcast ministry too, and outreach, which has reached 68 plus countries. I think we've actually gone up a little bit. Places we don't even know. We're thankful to hear from people like Puerto Rico and some other places. Russian Federation, I don't know who you are, but we're welcome to hear from you too. Switzerland, you're out there. It's probably Duffy's family. We don't know. But thank you. But one of our board members, quick story real quick, just for prayers. It would be really, really great. Justin Flanagan, who is also not only a One Love HTX board member, he's also my business partner in real estate. We were actually going on a trip 2 weeks ago, and right before we went on this trip, you don't know the story, do you? Before we went on this trip,
no idea.
He was running some final errands and exiting a little road called Derry Ashford here in Houston, Texas, and about halfway to the light, there was a car, and you know those moments, you're like, don't move. I can see you wanting to move. About 20 yards in front of him, she decided to try and make it. He's in a jacked up Jeep Gladiator with 37-inch tires on it, craziness. And he said if I would have slammed into her where she was, I would have killed her. And he goes, the last thing I could think of is to swerve, knock the back end off her. She went spinning. He was bounced off of her, bounced into the curb, and at 55 miles an hour continued to roll the Jeep.
Wow.
And,
wow.
Crazy. So he is recouping right now, and it's truly an act of God that he's alive. We looked at that Jeep, and it's trashed. The top was ripped off of it. He scraped his head on the concrete in one of the rolls. Those roll cages, I say now, Jeeps and Jesus, or Jesus and Jeeps for sure. That roll cage saved his life. And airbags did not deploy. He has lost all 5 of his front teeth, fractured his face in multiple places, 4 broken ribs, a damaged leg that they're still trying to figure out what's going on, and knees and ACLs and QRLs and PRLs and whatever else L's you have in there are just trashed. His arm with nerve endings and all kinds of stuff, he's having issues. They're looking at 6 to 7 months minimum recoup time, probably longer. So he's kind of out of the game fully right now. So that as we're looking at what we're doing next, just ask you to pray about that, because we're not going to deny, obviously, if God tells us, another program to do. We actually had something coming up we were trying to do with Brian Head Welch from Korn, and that actually went away right before all this happened. So it's kind of a blessing, because I don't think we would have been able to handle it with him being down like that. But just keep him in your prayers.
Man, wow.
A lot of stress that puts on, medical and all that kind of stuff, and trying to get back healthy again.
You're not kidding, man.
So, yeah, crazy. We just don't realize, how in the blink of an eye, something like that can happen. And again, we're just thankful that he's alive. So, peace out to my brother, Justin. So,
holy moly.
Yeah. So, hey, way to start off, a little bit of heaviness right on,
Right out of the gate.
Right out of the gate.
Right out of the gate.
So, music. I want to talk music. You want to talk music.
I want to talk music.
Music is it's a huge part of everyone's life. I mean, a huge part of mine growing up. I can remember when the top 10 was coming in, and I would have my tape deck and my tape ready to record whatever songs I wanted to record, and make your own mixtape, and all that.
Right off the radio.
Yeah, and I hear these things all the time. Like, there's songs that hit that when you hear them, they take you back to a time in life because they've made such an impact.
Yeah.
Really, really cool. But it goes deeper than that. And I think kind of where you were going with it. Yeah, and it's just like, where is, I don't know, what's the spiritual side of all this stuff? And what are we missing? What do we know? What do we not know? What's happening in the background? And being involved in music for as long as I have been on different levels, from just having a band myself to now working with a lot of different rock stars and their lives and hearing the stories, it's really, really crazy. Because growing up, I can remember probably the shift. I mean, my first album, I don't know what your first album was. What was yours? Do you know?
I don't know, but I'm so glad you said shift.
Shift.
I had to say it in my mind like 3 times.
I did say shift.
I was like, wow, we just don't care right now. We're going after the man, and it doesn't even...
Oh, no.
Okay.
Shift. My first album, I remember clearly, there was a store called Whackers. What a name. Off Mason Road in Katy. And it was like an everything store. You can get hamsters there. You can get anything for your kitchen, your bath, your household goods, music.
You just said hamsters.
So we got our hamsters at Whackers. Yeah. And so I was really starting to get into music. This was about 2nd to 3rd grade-ish, We got our hamsters there. We all got our Snoopy. Snoopy was my hamster that I got from Whackers. Yeah. And so I'm really starting to flow into music, and there was an album I wanted so bad. And I remember it had this acrylic case that had a circle in it, and you could reach inside of it to look at the albums, but you couldn't pull them out. So it's like their safety. It's like high-tech safety. So and they had to unlock the acrylic case, but it was a Bee Gees album. Oh, yeah. Staying Alive.
Of course.
I could not wait to get it. My mom bought it for me and kind of went on there. And then, of course, like that genre of rock and roll started coming in. My brother started following, so I started loving it. Scorpions and who else? AC/DC was coming in, from the like 70s to 80s, right?
Yeah.
And there was one album that caught my attention. And I remember walking into my friend's house, and he said, you've got to look at this album. You've got to hear it. It's the coolest band in the world. And I remember picking up the album, and I went, wow, they're kind of pretty ugly girls. And it was 4 pictures on the front of the album, or maybe the back. And I was like, they're pretty ugly, but it is what it is. And he goes, oh, those are dudes, man. Those are guys. And I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, those are guys. And it was Motley Crue's Shout at the Devil album. And I was like, all right, let's hear it. And so listening to that album changed my life. And I remember bringing that home because I had to go out and get my own. I was mowing lawns at the time, and I walked over to a little music store down the road and got my own album. And I remember my dad seeing it because it had the pentagram on it, right? Do you remember that?
Wow.
It had a big pentagram on the front, and it was a black album with like an off black matte album with a shiny pentagram black on it. So it was really cool. And I didn't really think anything of it. I don't even think I knew what a pentagram was. When my dad saw it, my dad's like, oh no, this is Satan, this is bad, you can't have this. And he broke the record and said, this is not going to be played in my house. And I was so distraught. I was like, that is such good music.
Your dad did that to you too?
You had it happen to you?
Well, he sorta. Christmas, cousin gave me Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Oh, Mike.
All I did was unwrap it. He saw the parental advisory on it. He took it from me immediately, nailed it to a tree, and then him and my uncle took turns with a pellet gun shooting it.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
That and a Beastie Boys album.
Oh.
He broke it in front of me, Licensed to Ill.
What? That had the airplane as like a cigarette that was going out. Right?
That's just like wow.
It's intense. That's
Wow, I thought I was the only one that happened to.
No.
Man, shout out to dads destroying albums.
Yeah, I've heard of a friend of mine who a kid put something. They were going to church camp, and he said, "Dad, can you put this CD in?" And he put the CD in, and it was pretty heavy, and he ejected it and threw it out the window right there. And he goes, "Dad, that was a Christian artist." And he goes, "It had a rebellious beat." Oh, funny stories. But yeah, so that happened. So, I'll kind of forget about the rest of it. There's like, it just taught me to hide my stuff a little bit better. But music impacted me.
Yeah.
And when you really listen to that album too, it's kind of interesting because you hear Tommy Lee talk about it, the pentagram, because he actually has a pentagram tattooed on him from that time. And he actually said, I had no idea what it was. It just was cool. Like we were told to do it. They designed it. They put it out there. We were like, oh, rock and roll. It's just what it's about. But of course, we're following all this stuff. And more, we started hearing, there was Iron Maiden, where you looked at Eddie, their mascot. And Eddie had 666 tattooed on his head. And it was this cool factor to it.
Yeah.
Kind of weird, but where was this stuff? Well, some say, just like Tommy Lee, like I had no idea. I just did it. It was cool. It was one of our symbols, and I really didn't even know that it was, satanic or there was the pentagram, because it was just a cool star to me. But you listen to all that, like I can quote it, the entire beginning of the Motley Crue album, Shout Out the Devil. And when you listen to it, it's really interesting because you're like, what is going on here, this play? Because it says in the beginning, now I can't even remember it. In the beginning, good always overpowered the evils of all man's sins. But in time, our nations grew weak and our cities fell to slums while evil stood strong. In the depths of hell and the blackest of hates, but those who you fear await you. Now, many, many lifetimes later, they've destroyed, beaten down only the corpses and rubbles and ashes and dreams and bloodstained streets. Let it be written that those who have the youth have the future. So come now, here's a weird one, children of the beast, be strong and shout at the devil. Weird wording. And when you listen, I'm like, okay, they're saying children of the beast, be strong and shout at the devil, stand up, rise, and fight against it? None of it made sense.
Wow.
So I'm telling I'm trying to play this to my dad. I'm like, yo, they're actually against the devil, Dad. Like, you listen to it, they're against the devil. But yet there's a pentagram everywhere. 666 is on different albums or different, it's just becoming more and more normal. And I think that was just like we see in Hollywood, right? Little by little, they start to infiltrate the system and make it normal. And so as we grew up, I think heavy metal had more of that essence of satanicness or, devil or whatever it is, demons, and it was kind of a cool factor.
Yeah.
And it's definitely progressed to a whole new level. And I think that's what we were talking about. Like, where is it today? And I think it's we see it. It's very big and dark and present.
Yeah.
More in the hip hop realm.
Yeah.
Today, which is odd because again, back then the fun was your LL Cool J. The fun was the Beastie Boys.
Yeah.
The fun was, this hip hop. It was just like Run DMC and all that. And there wasn't really this darkness to it. Now darkness has shifted to this hip hop, and it's gotten, you look at, Suicide Boys, although one of the Suicide Boys I just saw supposedly has given his life to Christ, but there are stories, and I've got to be really careful on how I say some of this stuff because I've got firsthand information from people in the industry that are truly approached with, listen, if you want to be famous, if you want to make it in this industry, you've got to give everything to Satan, like this from a satanic ritual type thing. And there's a lot of things that go on that are dark, sacrificial type things.
So this isn't you Googling right now.
No.
This is you talking to actual artists.
This is me talking to actual
known artists, big deals.
Yeah, and what they've experienced. And there have been some that have walked in that, and I'll just say, look at some of the biggest artists, and the people that I've talked to who are in that realm said they did not get there just because they were good. They got there and they were given that power or that financial gain because they made an agreement with the darkness. And it's very, very big in that realm. It's kind of spooky, kind of weird. So there's also been there's stories, you can Google these, where artists have started to come up, great talent and everything. There's one in particular, I'm trying to remember his name, and I probably shouldn't even say it, but he was being taken to a house to do this, and they were kind of explaining to him what was going on, and he basically said, no, I don't want any part of this. And they said, well, you're not going to make it. And he said, then fine. He actually got out of the car, they left him there, and he had to find his way home. And yeah, he hasn't made it in that realm for whatever reason, the reason of alliance. So they talk about handlers, where there are, again, these are a couple of names. I got to be really careful. I mean, firsthand, like best friends of people who have reached a pinnacle of their career, that have made this agreement. They see it in their life. That's just the darkness has covered them. There's a handler. There's a girlfriend who that's her job, is to make sure that he stays drugged or just attached to what they're doing, and the people away from them that are believers or know God or know the difference, and trying to get them away from it. It's really dark.
A girlfriend that's a handler.
A girlfriend that's a handler.
And
handlers are very, very normal.
And the artist is not aware. Or the artist is like, well, it's my girlfriend.
It's worth it to them. It's worth it. Yeah. So, and this one, like, you can Google this. I'm not saying anything I shouldn't say here, but there was, which I didn't know him. There was a very, very big artist that was more of our children's time, or my children's time, called XXX Tentacion, or Tentacion, I can't even say it. He, I guess, to that age group, was like the Elvis Presley of hip hop. And there's actually a story, and there's audio of him. He had gotten in trouble. He went to jail. Someone met him in jail, and they have audio of him basically saying, he's wanting to get out. He's wanting to get through this. And they said, if you want to get out of this and you want to be the biggest thing, the biggest next thing, then you've got to, basically align with Satan. You've got to agree with this. And he walked him through a satanic prayer, and within a very short time, he was out of jail, and he was on his way to being the biggest rapper of our children's time. It's really, really crazy, and you can find that audio. So I'm not hiding anything, and you can see the shift if you follow it and you like music enough, or just like to research things. You can see the shift of the gentleness of a human being to how dark they become. You can see it in their eyes. You can hear it in their music. And I've heard the passion from the way he would make music. He would just sit in the room for hours and hours and hours, just making this music, and couldn't get out of it. Just couldn't get away from that darkness. But today, which is really interesting, he was shot and killed years ago. But today, he's still one of the top 10 grossing selling artists in the industry.
Wow.
Even dead.
Wow.
Which is crazy. So
that's wild.
Yeah. And with that, took a lot of people with him on that journey. And, who did, who didn't, that's a whole other avenue and story. It's just weird.
So what prompted this? Maybe we should give people some background, because I've got some questions. I was just watching something the other day, and I texted you because I was like, it dawned on me that everything I listen to is either my generation of rock.
Yeah.
Right? And then it was, it was preceded by something else that influenced that, mm-hmm. and something else that influenced that, and something else that influenced that. You can run that back for decades and decades and decades and decades.
Right.
And like I joke that my son, who's 10 years old, I joke that we have a 75-year-old renting in our home because the kid is into vinyl. He listens to stuff on Spotify from the 1940s and 50s and 30s and 20s that I don't even know. And so it's interesting to be around him and like his little 10-year-old buddies, and they're all being drawn towards people who sing that they don't realize that it's all pre-auto-tune and everything.
Yeah.
They just, because they're younger, they're kids.
Yeah.
They're I'm like, what are y'all, like, what are you into? Like, why do you like? And they've literally told that, like, my son has said to me, he's like, it sounds like a real instrument. And he's like, it sounds like they're really singing. And I thought that's so interesting that if all you've ever known is super processed stuff, and then you hear just like a guitar on analog and a voice on analog, that may sound like we came up in the progression.
Yeah.
So we have almost like an ear for an expectation, but that's all you knew. And then someone puts this weird thing on this turntable, starts spinning, and the sounds coming out of it in your head don't sound like what you hear on the radio. It's intriguing to these young dudes. So it hit me. I was like, I texted you because I was like, it's hit me. Like, I can't think of a single rock band that started, and I mean started, check me on this out there, 68 countries, that started post 2000.
Yeah.
I know bands that started in 99. I know bands that started in 2000. I know bands that started in 92, and they were massive in 2005.
Yeah.
Or
stadium drawers.
Yes. And I thought, like, I just thought that's so interesting. And I know the counterpoint to what I'm questioning, which is the counterpoint is, well, that's just that's the industry in terms of this is what people want. The market is driving that. And I know that's the counterpoint, right? It would be like, calm down, conspiracy theorist. Like, it's just, it's what people wanted. And you could cite other bands that aren't like that. And I'm thinking, you're telling me Metallica didn't like influence anyone right now to sound like Metallica, and no one wants to listen to whatever that would be? That's not possible. Like, you're going to tell me like there's no one who's come out of Pearl Jam, like that was influenced by Pearl Jam or Soundgarden or Nirvana or Alice in Chains or whatever, and you're going to tell me like nothing? Like nothing. There was nobody at like 12 that was like, I don't know what that is, but I dig it. I'm going to dedicate the next decade to play a guitar that sounds like that. Where's that guy? Because I can follow the stream. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can follow the stream all the way back from the earliest times of rock and roll. And you'd be like, there came distortion. That's when we just started screaming. We stopped even singing, or whatever. But you can follow it. And it hit me. I'm like, this is weird. I get the free market thing, but then I look at other things that go on in our society, right? Like I look at Target. I look at all these big chain stores that push stuff that the overwhelming general public does not want, socially and otherwise. A female-looking bathing suit for a boy, right?
Right.
And there's all this massive pushback. Well, why is it Target's not worried about that? Because they're getting their money from somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that's the ugly little secret. So if you're backed by the right, I'll just say industry, your goal is to move the general public. And if they protest and stop buying your product, they're not going to hold out forever, number one. Number two, whatever you've calculated, you stand to lose more by not going forward with that agenda than what you would actually lose if people stop coming into your store. And I don't think people realize that. It's not always just free market. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's people that are underwriting massive companies. So it has me wondering sometimes. I'm like, per your point, I'm like I have a younger sister, and she was all about Taylor Swift in the earliest of the Taylor Swift era, And it was just like bubblegum and holding hands and I have a crush on a boy. And then it's like, how did we get to blank, 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 the patriarchy and like super like bizarre sexual innuendos now into your music? Like, how did that happen, to your point? And how are you like in the middle of everything? like everything. Like that's an example that's not necessarily rock, right?
Yeah.
So, and then to your point about hip hop, like I was all about, I mean, I just told you, like I had all kinds of albums that got destroyed. My dad just totally wrecked my collection. Love him for it. But like that was like a major influence on me. And it's weird because like I think you and I were talking about this offline. Like you start thinking about like how music is used to influence you. And I'm coming to the conclusion that it's not just hip hop and it's not just rock, but I almost feel like hip hop was leveraged to mess with two cultures at once, and really used to degrade two cultures at once. And some of the more interesting artists, if they were so talented, you couldn't shelve them. They were going to kind of rise to the top regardless. But there was a whole lot of stuff put out in the front that really just went to the next level to degrade cultures.
Yeah.
And it had a massive impact, I think, now looking back, on both, I would say predominantly, just to put this out there, like on both white and black people, like both groups. Like I think it did a weird mind thing. And I don't know that people are completely out of it. I just know that where we sit today, I'm like, where is music going? And it's not that I'm becoming the old man of like, get off my lawn kind of guy. Like, I understand there's going to be stuff that I may not dig and everything else. I'm just saying that I can't follow the thread.
Yeah.
And that's what got me thinking. And then you and I went down the rabbit hole about Michael Jackson and like everything else. And so I just think that I'm starting to come to the conclusion more of what you just said, like using Motley Crue as an example, that there seems to be more of an agenda to shape our thinking.
Sure.
And using music to do it.
Yeah, I think we have to look at that as even like, Hollywood, and we don't have to go into that, but just again the infiltration of the agendas, and anywhere that they have a mass following, this is again, let's look at this as a spiritual realm. I always have to look at it that there's good and evil, and this is the playground of the devil. So all this stuff has the ability to infiltrate for masses that are following, and music has always had that. Hollywood has always had that. So you're going to see that shift. It's really funny because we go back to I remember listening to my parents' 8-tracks on their bed because they had a little 8-track player above their bed, their water bed, and I would float around the water bed and put in the mamas and the papas and all these things that I just loved listening to, and it just seemed wholesome and good. You listen to some of that stuff; it's not so wholesome and good.
I know,
but as it progressed, again, little by little, the infiltration happens and the change. And to your point, where is it going? It's following technology too. So, and I was actually just talking to Sonny about this because I'd sent him some music one day, and I was like, "You got to check this out; it's really good." And then I realized it, and no fault, that it was a great artist who created the music or the lyrics, but then put it to AI.
Oh,
and so AI took over, and I had no idea.
Got it.
I had no idea. But to me, the purity, kind of like what you're talking about, the purity of someone actually doing it is gone. Like, to me, yes, there's something to writing lyrics that touch you, and I'll give it, whoever does that, like, beautiful. You can write it, it's going to touch people, the lyrics that come out of it. But then there's the other side of the actual music itself that AI takes from all this data and helps to create the sound and the music and even the voice of what's coming out is troublesome to me.
Yeah.
Because the art is kind of lost there.
Yeah.
And some can say, and I might agree with that too, that there is an art to AI, but it's not my choice.
Yeah.
But I think that's what's happened through the years. And if you look at it, 80s rock, there was a lot of anger in some of the heavier stuff. Your Metallica, you look at Ride the Lightning and Kill 'Em All and Master of Puppets, and then and Justice for All. I mean, there was some anger going on there. And then all of a sudden, hair bands, like real hair bands, started coming in. Guns N' Roses, and it was like, fun and ballads and all these things of love and, people following that. But then there was some, Skid Row, Rat. They got a little, rebellious and, had that following. And then there was the girl look and the not so girl look.
Yeah.
They're like, I remember Guns N' Roses picking on, people like Poison,
right?
Like a bunch of girls over there.
Right.
They're not even making rock and roll. There's girls dancing around stage. So and then and to your point too, it's like these bands were pulling massive stadium fillings, like just crazy, and that's gone. Very, very few. I'm sure if Madonna, said she was going on a world tour, there's going to be limited, and you're starting to see that now. Like they'll pick 10 of the major cities and just nail them, and people will come from everywhere to the proximity of those cities and just fill a stadium. But back in the day, 50 plus cities, they were being filled, no problem.
Easy.
Napster had a lot to do with that. When Napster came in and everyone started getting things for free, and it changed the value of music. Now you can just have anything at your fingertips. You didn't have to go out and pay for it. You have to go mow lawns and get enough money to get that album and listen to it all the time. Now it's at your fingertips on your phone. You don't have to put a tape deck or a CD in your car anymore. So that kind of diminished, in my opinion, the importance or the drive for that.
Yeah.
And so you have to be really, really good. And there's very few. I think, not my favorite. He's good artist. Like Justin Timberlake, I think can still pull the crowd. I think if you hear about these bigger bands that are coming back and doing the Las Vegas Dome or whatever that thing's called.
Yeah.
Like they packed it, and it was like, I think $700 something a ticket.
Wow.
And they got it filled. But yeah, so now we've got the technology coming in. But I think we're going to see that shift. There's nothing new under the sun, right? I think we're going to see that shift eventually if we live long enough to see it in this world, that eventually people are going to get tired of the fake, because we're seeing that in social media.
Yeah.
Like people are like, so fake. Like I'm so tired of these fake videos. That's happening very quickly. And that's kind of a new thing with AI and what it can create. People are going, I'm so tired of watching all this fake stuff. I just want to see something real, or that news station or that news social media constantly fake. I just want to hear straight from the source the realness of what's going on. And I think we're going to get that in music again, where true artists are going to start coming back. People are going to enjoy the live experiences versus, like, what can you do if you created a complete AI album?
Yeah.
Like, how do you go on tour with that?
Right.
Like, I guess you can, get Tesla robots and have them perform.
Dang.
That might might be a
Well, so
moneymaker.
okay, so I appreciate. I think we just to briefly recap what we've
Did I
gone
answer
so far.
your questions?
Yes, it was solid. Is that degeneracy, paganish behavior has been in music for the longest, and we want that. Like, that's real. And every generation has had their variant of it, whether they hinted at it or it was just everything but backstage and their lives in between each show. But what I also hear you as a factor is that the demonic element, like outright satanic thing, if it was already getting its tentacles in the music industry decades ago, it's not only is it entrenched, now it's almost a gatekeeper. And I think a lot of people are watching things in shows, not realizing they're not, it's not an expression of art. It's literally the thing, they are telling you something.
Agendas.
Flat out, like they are telling you something 100%. Flat out. So whatever that ritual they did to Satan, per your firsthand account, now they're just like, well, let's just put it in the show.
Yeah.
Like, what difference does it make? And we're all watching it going, well, that's kind of red and dark. That's weird lighting choice.
Yeah.
Well, that looks kind of demonic, but I'm sure it's just an expressive dance. No, it's not. It's like the thing.
It's the thing.
And I think we're still a little bit behind the curve. But I'll even twist it another way, because then I do. Oh, I love this. I finally have a grenade for you.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, you've been giving me grenades for like, I don't know, how many years?
4 or 5.
Oh, yeah. Oh, this is what we're going to talk about today. Have fun. Oh, I finally got one for you, but I'm not going to drop it quite yet. Is I want to put this under examination, because I think this is a factor to this whole thing. Is I can remember the first time I heard Joshua Tree.
Ooh. Good one.
And it was from a movie called Blown Away. And he's an Irish terrorist. So I was immediately a kindred spirit with this movie. And Joshua Tree shows up all the time from that album in that particular movie. And I was so enthralled with like this sound. And then I started watching when Wide Awake, was it Wide Awake in America? When they came to America, I had the VHS tape and I would just play it forever and ever. I just thought that like the whole expression of the music, and there was so much soul to it. And I would have told you for decades that my favorite band, hands down. There's some others that are up there, but I probably would have said U2, because it meant like their messaging meant so much. And then being, Irish and only separated by a generation, St. Patrick's Day came, my entire house had green Christmas lights on it.
Wow.
The Irish flag hung. We had Irish dancing and Irish songs that we did, and we do that every year. I mean, it's a very big thing, and our family's heritage is in Southern Ireland. And so my great-grandfather, he's turning over in his grave that he was a Catholic who fought against the North and then had to flee Ireland, and now he has a Protestant pastor for a great-grandson. But like all of that history is a big part of our family history and like our story. And so I connected with this music that had like it had compassion at heart, but there was like also a rebel tone in it.
Sure.
In some of the songs, that I could relate to. Like, I don't know, it felt like on a deeper level. Sunday Bloody Sunday, Bullet in the Blue Sky. Like, I loved that element of kind of challenging the thing bigger than you. And so now, like, where I'm bringing this full circle now, because this is a hard thing for me to say and admit, is that I am watching Ireland that is per capita being overrun more than any other country in Western civilization. And nobody voted on it. It's not, the people are disarmed. You can't hardly own a gun. And if you can, it's a hunting rifle. And there's 7 ways from Sunday that they know that you have it and what you have, X, Y, and Z. The politicians have turned their backs on the people there. They are taking land that used to be open to grazing. And overnight, the military and the police will set up temporary fencing. They'll put in these modular situations. And they are moving men in that are military age that they know nothing about. They have no history on them. And you go ahead and fact check me out there. Jump on whatever media you want. It's actually real. I'm not embellishing. They're setting them up with all kinds of benefits. They're driving up housing costs in the area. People are being forced out of their homes. And it's not petty theft. It's not like petty crimes that are happening. Somebody stealing bubble gum or whatever from the counter. It's rape. It's murder. It's the most egregious things that are now happening in a country that never knew that. There's no history of colonialism. There's no angle that anyone could have to play that we talk about in America that you could weaponize against the people there. And so I can't help but notice that while I never went to a U2 show where a pentagram went up in front of everyone, and Bono never said, "I love Satan," I was at all kinds of shows. I've been, I think, 3 shows now with them. I did the 30th anniversary of Joshua Tree. And here's this rebel band, their own country's under assault, and they are eerily silent and have been for 6 years. They have nothing to say. Nothing to say. So I look at that, back to the point about the industry, and I'm thinking, nope. Like, your own country, you've been into this one, you've made millions off of this country. You had no problems pointing out every kind of theft and greed and egregious thing that's happened in the United States. Injustices all over the world. It's happening under your own roof and you say nothing. You don't hold a concert. You don't make a public statement. And so now I look at that and I go, maybe you started out a certain way when you're just coming up.
Right.
Something has you now. And I'm not saying you, in this case, you went off and like did your whatever to Satan. I'm saying that whatever that thing is that you all deal with, it either has its tentacles in you literally, or the powers that be actually control you. And, people can only control other people if they have something on them. Right?
Right.
I've got you blackmailed. I got a gun to your head. But there's only a handful of ways to control another human being to make them act outside of their pattern that they've established for 30 years. And when people don't act according to the pattern because now it goes against a narrative, would be the case here, then I look at it and I go, then who controls you? Who owns you? And in extreme cases, when you can't get your tentacles in someone, you just kill them. That's the world we live in now.
Yeah.
So there's the other side where, you would look at that band and you go, oh, they never did anybody. And that's part of the problem. They're not doing anything.
Yeah.
So someone who had a habit of standing up and parading around and throwing up the, hey, we're going to rebel against this injustice. It's your own country. It's your own people. It's average people that are having their world ripped apart, and you have nothing to say about it. So I go, that's also a version of this whole thing in my mind. Yeah. It's not just what your lyrics are and everything else that we've already identified here from different genres of music. I look at that and I'm like, you're the biggest in the game.
Wait. So are you challenging U2 to stand up and fight for Ireland?
Yeah, they need to wake up. If I saw Bono in an airport, I like, he wouldn't get an autograph. I wouldn't ask for an autograph. I'd have questions, and I probably wouldn't get anywhere near him because he probably has 3 or 4 guys much bigger than me. But like I think that's in my mind that's reprehensible, and I go, that's either you either don't want to, and I have a problem with that, or you can't.
I think it's more the can't, for sure.
Well, and that's that same, right? I mean, it's another angle to the same beast, man.
Yeah. And again, look at, again, we go back to Hollywood. We go back to anything that's money-making, anything that has power. There's definitely a big control there that you're going to be stomped on if you are just the little guy coming in, or even the big guy that's trying to change the course of where something is going for the purposes of control and power.
Perfect. Let's talk about stomping the big guy, and here's your grenade.
Oh, no.
And I just
set myself up?
You did. Oh, and I want you all to know that I did not tell him this in advance. So if this like randomly just gets cut off or edited after the fact, we're like, Daniel's like, and all of a sudden it goes up.
I'm a little terrified.
Okay. Well, I bet for 10 years, I thought, man, I don't know how to feel about Michael Jackson. You know where I'm going.
Kinda. Keep going.
Well, and I thought, like, I always thought, like, wow, super talented dude. And he's just this, he's a pedophile, a pervert. And so, Daniel, okay. We're talking about the power of a thing.
Yeah. So, all right, here's my take on it, and I'm probably going to get. We could.
You can protect all sources.
Yeah, we could get. This could be our last episode.
You can. Okay, now I'll say this on your behalf, because you're the one who should. Please don't hate me, dude. Like what's the topic? It's the topic. Mm-hmm. Okay, if Daniel doesn't. Okay, there's certain things I know you can't say, and there's certain people you can't mention, and yada yada yada. But like. I don't know if you would agree. This was one of the most consequential.
Yes.
Like, if there's ever been, if we could take this entire conversation, rap, hip hop, rock, country, whatever versions of whatever is coming out nowadays, indie, everything else, industry. Why is this going away? Why is this style gone? Is it just this, and this? If there's ever been a dude that literally went from like it. To almost within like 6 weeks was a pariah. So much so that me sitting next to you, your humble co-host, like it convinced me, right? Mm-hmm. And then I talked to you, and in a conversation, I'm like, what? And then I started mentioning other people, protecting everyone, of course. And there were more people that were like, it never seemed right to me either. And so I just thought this is the pinnacle of the conversation. And you're looking at a blue jay feather. I'm talking to you and you're looking at a blue jay feather. So
it's funny. I just had this conversation, not meaning to the other day, because someone, and I'll protect that person, said something about Michael Jackson being a pedophile. And it threw me into a little bit of a loop. And we had... not an argument about it, but it was more of a, let's wake up, people. So I'm going to have to set this up with something else. Again, what are we hearing about so much now? And some people call it conspiracy. Some people, it's becoming more and more, as we said in one of our other podcasts, you can't hide anything anymore.
Right.
pedophilia, is that the correct
That
word?
is correct.
Has been around for a long time, we're hearing, and is actually a part of this satanic ritual stuff that's going on. Like what they're doing to children, Pizzagate, all this. Go research it all. I mean, Hillary Clinton was just, smacked around about it on some of the stuff. They call it I forgot, it was the fizzle dazzle or razzle dazzle or whatever it was, and what her and someone else were doing. It's just crazy. And so we're having this issue with what's real, what's not, what's true, what's not. But again, it's almost like you got to just bring it to the surface and go, fine, here it is. Almost to just go, what are you going to do about it? And that's what they're doing.
Right.
So I believe 100% because the stories are there. When you look again, fame of any sort, notoriety, young kids coming in, the stories that are coming out now directly from the sources are insane. And let's just start with, I don't know if our listeners all know them, the two Coreys from the 80s, which was Corey Haim and Corey Feldman. And Corey Haim ended up committing suicide or drug overdose or whatever it was. And Corey Feldman is still around. They say he's kind of lost his mind. He's doing all these shows and he acts like Michael Jackson and does this horrific, whatever shows, but he's hurting. And both of them have this whole history that they share of sexual abuse in the Hollywood scene. And there's some names attached to it, and I want to be really careful with that too.
Sure.
But they say them. They say who physically abused them, sexually abused them over and over and over again. And Corey Haim was one of the ones that said he just couldn't deal with it, and then the drugs just finally got to him, and he just couldn't deal with the pain anymore. We heard, again, you kind of research this too, supposedly, and I'm saying supposedly, but there could be out there a little bit more that something happened to Bieber in his coming up. All these young kids that Britney and yada, 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 you name it.
I believe that with all of them.
So,
yes.
Where am I going with this? I believe 100% that Michael Jackson was a part of that in coming up, and the artist that he was, the potential that he had that they saw, and it was just this, it was terrible things that happened to him. That's why I believe that he had such a love for children. Not a pedophiliac love, but a love for what is happening to children and the pain and the things that they go through. Because the two Coreys were extremely close to him. And idolized him as a friend, as a father figure, and they both have said over and over again, he never once did he ever touch us, never once. He was just there for us. He understood our pain. They alluded to them knowing the story or whatever had happened to him was very similar to what happened to them, and that's why they connected. Through all that. So I don't believe that I believe what happened is he was coming out about that Michael Jackson was done. He had a great pulpit, for lack of a better term, to share these things, and they didn't want him talking. They didn't want him to share that. And I got nailed for that, where people were just like, no, he was totally, I don't believe it. Again, when you go back to the two Coreys, and their stories, and several other kids that have said that through Hollywood, is just like, no, that's not. They painted him to be that because they didn't want him talking. They didn't want him sharing the information that he had firsthand knowledge of.
And the first time you dropped that nuke on me behind closed doors, I was like, what? and I went, I'm looking into this. And so I started looking into like the song, They Don't Really Care About Us. I started looking into his comments about Gaza and the Palestinian people. I started looking at when he started making comments about record executives.
Mm-hmm. They even say so much, and again,
the timing works out really, really well.
Yeah, you got to research your stuff. But again, the stuff that I found was even his family members, because they weren't as dominant in the industry as he was. There was a potential chance of loss of money to them So the stories are that even some of the family members continued to propel what was happening to him to keep themselves safe and fed, and it's horrible when you look at it. So I think we're fed what they want us to hear to protect evil, and it's all going to come to light. It is coming to light, but again, we're struggling with now, because now it's and there, oh gosh, there's a whole other side too of what that satanic culture says, and this is a really weird one. In order to knock what they call the karma off them, as long as you make it known, then you hold no blame in it, if that makes sense. So that's the whole goal of, let's just get it out there. Let's feed. And that's kind of what people are saying of, gosh, this just gets really weird now. Like, have you ever heard that thing, like what happens in The Simpsons ends up happening in real life? You ever seen that?
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. That's another rabbit hole you need to go down.
I threw the grenade out because I knew you'd just start talking. That's why I did it.
So The Simpsons have always had this thing where you can look back on episodes and see that some of these like big cultural happenings happened in The Simpsons first. And they say that writer is actually part of that group. And so that's part of the whole agenda, is put it out there. We told you it was going to happen, but you didn't listen. That's your fault, not ours.
Right.
We gave you fair warning. So our hands are clean.
Yeah.
So it's really, it's ugly, it's scary, but that's the twistedness of the enemy, right? Trying to make himself justified and right.
Right.
And he's not. Woo!
Wow. Well, here's just to kind of tie it into a bow, is that you already talked about that it's not anything new, and you'll see that with David's son Solomon. He gets pulled into child sacrifice. The first time we see the number 666 referenced is actually in relation to Solomon, and the implication actually in using 666 in that moment is not for a literal weight. I think it was of gold from my memory, but it is that he was no longer operating in godly wisdom. The number of God is 777. 7 is this, eternally perfect number. And so one less than perfection, that's deception, is 666. It's the anti-Trinity. And so no different than what we see in the history of the story of even God's people. There is major subversion that happens of people that are more or less agents of Satan, they find ways to undermine and subvert things that are meant to be good. I mean, frankly, we're going into Holy Week. Jesus's inner circle would have one of the disciples that would be taken by Satan. You see that subversion happening even within his own camp.
Right.
And you can see how that plays itself out with the Sanhedrin, and then this dialogue between Pilate and Herod, who hated each other before, but all of a sudden they agreed that, well, we do hate the same guy, and then Rome and the Sanhedrin, who really had this more hate than really no love relationship, they could agree on one thing: let's kill Jesus. And so this is this idea of subversion, and that what is demonic and explicitly satanic, connecting and working off of one another and working together for the aims of destroying that which is from God, whether people always realize it or not, actually, which is wild. Sometimes they don't even realize what they're in or how they're helping or supporting or championing or whatever, but it's nothing new. And you see that God, we've seen this time and time again, we see it even in God's word, like he sees it all.
Yeah. He's
aware of it all. And none of this stuff is going to go unchecked. And I think we live in a fascinating time where people feel, I think, a growing sense of freedom to reevaluate what they're seeing, what they're hearing, what they're experiencing. And more, all bets are off on reevaluating those things. And I think that's profoundly healthy. And I think even as it comes to the music industry, I think I don't think I'm the only one asking that question. Like, well, that's what dictates what are my options to listen to?
Yeah.
Are you really going to sell me? Like, that's odd. Like, how did that happen? You know, and I think everything we've talked about today that has evil over and under and through it, and if we can look at God's word, we see that like evil when it has a rope, it's given so much slack by God, and when He finally pulls that back, and that would happen with God's people, they'd be disciplined and pulled back into a place of desiring and repenting and walking with Him. And I think we live in a cool time, as dark as it is, and that I do actually believe, I wouldn't have said this 2 or 3 years ago, I actually think there's a lot of things that we're going to see play itself out that I never would have thought possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
For, in a good way, evil being outed.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Yeah, and it's definitely coming. And I think we're actually seeing that in music. Matter of fact, the latest I've heard too from a lot is hip hop is on its way out. Like it's ran its course of evil. So keep an eye out. Where's it going to go next? It's going to keep trying.
Yeah.
So hip hop is no longer having the crowd, but we saw that too. I mean, that's why the change. I mean, the heavy metal stuff. You know, the Iron Maiden. You know, that was not. It became boring.
Yeah.
And then I guess the next big one that really had a hold on people and influence was Seattle grunge.
Yeah.
Depression at its finest. Some of my favorite music.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't depressed. I loved Nirvana. I loved Soundgarden, but it was this darkness of a sound that did a lot to the followers of the music more than we were seeing. You know, there were those that just loved it because it had a great beat and, you know, rhythm and you know, rooster, you know, great.
Yeah.
But there's so much more to it. And then we roll over to hip hop. Where's it going next? Be aware of that. I think we have to, because it's going to continue to try. But I also think we're having a surgence of really good, positive, Christ-based music. And I say that not quote unquote Christian music. You know, I was never a fan of like Stryper or and I'm probably going to get nailed for that one, but it just wasn't my bag. They weren't horrible, but it just wasn't my bag. I enjoyed someone more undercover, cool, that you really had to listen to the poetic lyrics to figure out what he was talking about, and that was POD.
I love POD.
Yeah, they did it better than anyone else, and I think we're starting to see a lot of that come into it, where people are like, I believe, yes, I'm a follower of Christ, and I just want to make music with the gift that I've been given that touches people. And you can sing about your wife. You can sing about your life. You can sing about and still aim or direct people to God without, you know, being, I guess, a Christianese song. You know, and there's nothing wrong with those. Yeah. But there are still people that are gravitating to that, and that's making a big move right now. Let me add my soon to be 12-year-old daughter. I hear this song playing upstairs. I'm like, what is this? What is this garbage? And she's like, well, it's somebody. His name is Forrest Frank. Oh. And like I didn't know what he was saying. I couldn't hear right. Like, he's from Katy.
Yeah. So like I started hearing this music in my house and not like initially really locked in on like what was it, like what was going on. And then my wife was telling me, you know, Mallory was telling me like, oh yeah, this is like, he's a Christian. And I thought, okay, all right, we'll see about that. You know, so I saw some scenarios that got thrown at this dude where you really couldn't, you wouldn't be able to handle the scenarios the way that he did if the Holy Spirit, number one, isn't dwelling in you. I don't believe that. And then he handled things, a few scenarios I saw where people tried to kind of invite his ego into some situations here, and probably in the last year and a half, whatever. And I saw someone handle something, a few of these things Forrest Frank did with such wisdom and humility. And so my daughter is going to the show here in the future, and I'm the chaperone or the driver and the Uber, and and so actually I even look at what's happening in that realm of, you know, I guess you would categorize as Christian hip hop, and like I'm thrilled that my child is locked in on not only something that is worshiping Christ, but the artists, because I've been through that.
Yeah.
We just talked about, like, everyone, it seems like they're on the, Disney Channel, and then they turn out to be like the darkest, whatever, whether it's because they're controlled or what have you. And so that's my first thing. Like, I've been conditioned for that. Like, well, let's see.
Yeah.
And like, I'm really encouraged by the guy. In fact, I just know, I really pray that God surrounds him, because, boy, he's going to have a lot flying at him if he doesn't already.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's perfect. Just drove my point home. That's what we're starting to see a lot more of. You know, that he was the fastest sellout at the rodeo this year.
Wild.
Yeah, with
Good for him.
Less than an hour or something, you couldn't get tickets. It was gone.
That's awesome.
Katie, Texas. Shout out to Katie.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're starting to see a lot more. People are tired of. I think we're starting to become more aware of darkness, whatever you want to call it, however you want to see it. People are negativity, just yuck. And they're wanting to have something to believe in.
Yeah.
And which is, again, the bigger draw to the source, the true source.
Right.
Which I think is important. But, I welcome that, and I can't wait for it. Yes, it's gotten ugly, but I think it has to get ugly in order to get brighter, right?
Amen.
The darkness has to be revealed in order for the light to shine on it and destroy it.
Amen.
So, wow, that was a really preachy thing to say, but it was cool.
You definitely have to. You're the one who's got to close us on prayer on this one, man.
Oh, okay. That was good. Good bombs. Heavenly Father, we thank you for bombs. Not physical bombs, spiritual bombs in conversation. Just thank you so much for that. Thank you. We can have this conversation openly and safely, and just be able to talk to so many people. I don't know where some of this is going to go. I think it was great information, but we give it to you, and just pray, Lord, that any ear that hears this message, this conversation, Father, it would make us think and draw us away from darkness and closer to you. Darkness is a real thing, and it's out there, but it's not stronger than you. So, Father, we just pray for your strength, your power, your peace, your love, your joy, your hope, and your eyes to see where we're being tricked, where we're being lied to, and where we're being taken away from the true source of power, of love and healing, and that is you. And we love you and thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Sweet.
Guys,
are you going to do this again? Here we go.
No, I'm not going to do anything. Daniel, I do want to ask you this before I let you go. It's just like, what is like your greatest, I don't know, dream in your life? Like, what would that be?
My greatest